Hello, my name is Devin Howland, the Director of Economic Vitality for the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Today, I wanted to go over the Outdoor Refreshment Area proposal with you. As you know, we've been working on this topic for some time, 7 months actually. In a moment, we'll briefly go over the history of Act 812 and Fayetteville's process with it. This presentation is designed to provide a very in-depth review of the proposed Outdoor Refreshment Area ordinance and its governing phasing plan. The ordinance, however, is quite simple. It does primarily 3 things, which we'll go over in just a moment. The component and the issues are complex, especially through the lens of participating businesses. While dozens and dozens of communities across the country have very similar ordinances, it's the small details that make these districts very successful and safe. This is a brief timeline of our process. It started back in August, and what we realized was we wanted to continue to work with our business community more. The original intent was a public hearing aimed at the April 7th City Council meeting. Due to the pandemic, that did not happen. So much of the phasing plan that we're going to show had to change. And in wake of the economic impacts of COVID-19, our work dove us into the issue at hand. We presented this actually in March to the Dixon Street Merchants Association on the 9th, had internal meetings up until the 12th, and on the 13th, our worlds changed, as did the Economic Development Department's efforts. We continued to have internal meetings on this topic, and it was discussed at length at the city's Small Business Resiliency Task Force. This item will go to City Council on June 2nd, which gives us several more weeks to plan, explore, work with our stakeholders. I would also like to preface this presentation by saying our local businesses have been major partners in this process. The revisions, and we've worked hard for 7 months to address initial concerns and develop an ordinance that builds upon the original that was proposed. What was originally proposed was a great ordinance. The additions of laws that we'll discuss on attendee behavior came from listening to the business community, and it builds a foundation for the rules of the Outdoor Refreshment Area. Staff wants to continue to move forward with our partners together. We have much more work to do finalizing this item. What is Act 812? It was actually passed by the Arkansas legislature in 2019. Essentially, it gives municipalities a great deal of flexibility to establish what is called entertainment districts. We have a link to Act 812 on our website, or you can search it, or on the Arkansas legislature's website. You can find it there. In November of 2019, the city held multiple focus group sessions where a mix of various stakeholders from employers, industry professionals, anchor institutions, and property owners came together to discuss the proposed ordinance and what it could be. City staff, including the city attorney's office, development services, and the Fayetteville Police Department all attended and participated as well. Some of the takeaways from the focus group sessions that we did are on the screen. You can view the full focus group packet in the agenda on our website. We did 2 focus group sessions, one that focused on the Dixon Street area and one that focused on the rest of downtown. As you can imagine, the sessions were quite different because our downtown is quite different, yet a lot of commonalities were found. If you're familiar with the last entertainment district ordinance the city proposed, what you'll notice is this ordinance is, while similar, also quite different. The name has changed, and there's a lot to a name. Outdoor Refreshment Area doesn't conflict with a specific geography or parking area that the city already has. It's also very clear what it is, and it can be utilized elsewhere in the future. We feel this name is also reflective of the intent behind the ordinance. This is not about partying. It's about being able to enjoy alcoholic beverages outdoors in a responsible manner, and now support the businesses we care about in a very safe manner. We've also built a new notification system that we believe is going to greatly help with communications between event organizers and businesses. We'll go over that in a moment. There is also a phasing plan, and obviously, due to the pandemic, we had to change that. We had originally hoped to pilot this in June, and then in the fall, pilot what we're referring to as a regularly scheduled open consumption district. What is that? We'll go over that in a moment. But I want to preface by saying language is extremely important. I don't want people to assume a definition. We hope it is very clear. If you have any questions, you can contact us to find out. We also made several changes to little items in the ordinance, such as the cups that would be generalized with a logo developed by the city for the Outdoor Refreshment Area. And we could purchase these things to ensure proper distribution to participating businesses. We envision these being compostable, not reusable given the current pandemic and the need for sanitization measures to be the highest priority for continued public safety. Additional revisions are actually on attendee behavior, reinforcing many of the state laws that are already in place. They will also be local laws should this ordinance be adopted, specific to the outdoor refreshment area. And within the ordinance text, they can be found in Section D. Why does this matter? There's a big difference, as our police department has told us, between a rule and a law. Rules aren't enforceable. The ordinance also adds a new component, and it's called a Limited Open Consumption District Pilot Program. This is a smaller defined area within the district, perhaps a series of commercial streets that stitch together various parts of downtown that wouldn't require road closures. And kicking this off on a Sunday through Wednesday is what staff's proposing. It doesn't mean it can't grow in the future. It means we should continue to take our time and to take it slow while trying new things. There's also a sunset provision in the ordinance of January 30th, 2021. However, due to the pandemic, no long-term decisions should be made pertaining to this ordinance until it can be assessed with downtown at full capacity in the future. We also have to get businesses buy-in, notify them at least 21 days in advance before the pilot program begins, as well as the City Council, who can appeal it. As shown in the phasing plan, boundary signs, waste receptacles, compostable cups, visible identifiers have to be developed and deployed, as well as rules and public education. I mentioned this ordinance does three things: sidewalk cafes, special events, and the regularly scheduled open consumption district pilot program. We'll dive into those a little bit deeper each, but with sidewalk cafes, we already have a process in place. Businesses would be able to apply for patio tables or cocktail seating on sidewalks where it is appropriate and ADA access can be maintained, and alcohol could be served in regular glasses there. As it stands right now, you would have to build a 3-foot perimeter fence around those seatings to serve alcohol. Special events can also apply for no beer garden, and we'll talk about that more, as well as having businesses make sales to attendees. The regularly scheduled open consumption district pilot program will not require street closures. Businesses would be able to serve to-go to patrons who could consume alcohol within a smaller defined area. And to mention again, as staff has proposed, to start this on the slow days. We want to enable patrons to spread out, conform and maintain social distancing guidelines, and increase sales during a time of reduced occupancy so that we can maintain social distancing. Why now? It's a big tool. We also have some big challenges ahead of us, especially with our bars, restaurants, and performance venues, who have all been significantly impacted during this pandemic. Staff's purpose behind this ordinance has changed dramatically. Our why. While I still feel extremely strongly it has positive attributes to downtown. For us, it's about our new normal, being flexible, allowing spacing during a time of social distancing, and whatever we can do to safely increase revenues. While some of these occupancy restrictions, it's not just about profitability, it's about keeping staff safe. We are not insinuating that this ordinance will fix it, but we hope it can help. Across the country from D.C. to Seattle, you're seeing liquor laws rolled back in an effort to help small businesses. This ordinance does that. It is not our place to speak for businesses. However, we do hope this tool can help a little bit. With also event organizers worried about how to improvise and adapt to the current challenges, when beer gardens do the one thing that we cannot do right now, congregate. It is my hope that this helps people come downtown, feel safe to do so on slow days. And again, our why is to help those who have been hit the hardest by this pandemic. The first to close, in many cases, as we saw in Fayetteville, through their leadership or by state directive, and the last to reopen. Now, I'm going to review each of the three components of the ordinance. This is so common in many cities. Currently, in order for any alcoholic beverage to be consumed in such a sidewalk cafe, a barrier fence must be in place. In order to maintain ADA access and or maintain our sidewalks to be very walkable, this challenges a lot of places. However, this is a way to expand occupancy safely for restaurants and bars while social distancing is needed. In order to do this, Act 812 would need to be utilized. Special events. Beer gardens can be a thing that event organizers don't have to have. It gives them the option to apply for one. They can still take the regular route. It's also not that applicable right now while there's no event, yet it provides a tool of flexibility in the future. One of the really unique things about this is traditionally, an event organizer would have to go after a temporary picnic permit from ABC. Now, if they wanted to, they could have the businesses in that closed area be the source of alcohol for their event attendees to consume. This will also enable patrons of events to walk around a closed area and consume alcohol, rather than staying in a beer garden. This is the largest component of the ordinance. This does not require street closures. Businesses will be able to serve to-go to patrons who could consume the alcohol in the smaller defined area. From staff's research, this is actually the most common type of public consumption district in the country. The laws vary by state. We did a lot of research that we presented to the City Council in October of last year. You can find that presentation online on our Outdoor Refreshment Area webpage. We identified about 50 communities, and we know there's a lot more. Our goal with this, though, is to enable patrons to spread out, and again, conform to social distancing guidelines, and so we can increase sales in a safe way. Again, this program does have a sunset date that will need to be revisited. No long-term decisions should be made until we can view this under full capacity of not only our anchor institutions, but also downtown. So this is a map of the proposed outdoor refreshment area boundary. And you may think, and I feel it's important to stress, are you saying that the limited open consumption district pilot program, anybody would be able to walk through this entire thing? No. It would be a much smaller collection of streets. Like we mentioned, perhaps it's a series that's stitched together downtown or good walking loops. And we would also work with businesses on that. The beauty of the district's broadness is its ability to not only help events, but also the Sidewalk Cafe components. That's why the map's so big. Again, does the Open Consumption District Pilot Program mean people can walk around the entire map? No. Staff sees benefits in starting small. We can always grow it. Other facets of the pilot program. There's a lot that the city has to do in order to do this. Not only collaborating with our police department to ensure safety, businesses and anchor institutions, we also want to know where it's best to do this, and we'll be standing up a Speak Up page soon. As mentioned, there are notification requirements so we can get buy-in from property owners and businesses in the chosen area. City Council also has to be notified as well. All these things that have to happen, boundary signs, waste receptacles, coordination for safety, ensuring that we can capture those compostable cups, and ensuring the beauty of downtown is maintained, a lot has to happen. Yet all these details come together to make a district successful, safe, and more enjoyable for everybody. Phasing plan. Obviously, we had this proposed in March and the dates shifted significantly. While that's not too important right now, we wanted to go ahead and say that we have adapted it to the pandemic. You can review this phasing plan on our city's website, and you can see the details of it. In Phase 1, whenever the City Council passes it and the ordinance were to become a law, should the City Council pass it, a new website will stand up, and sidewalk cafes are open for application and utilization. Legacy events, if applicable. What is that? A legacy event we're defining as someone who's held an event in Fayetteville 3 out of the past 5 years, can move forward thinking about social distancing guidelines for events without beer gardens. We want to learn from them, apply their feedback, and modify as needed as discussed in Phase 2. The regularly scheduled open consumption district pilot program can also begin. Again, staff is recommending Sunday through Wednesday. This is no closed streets. And there's a lot of work that has to be done to ensure a safe rollout. In Phase 2, December through February, we'll assess the sunset. The ordinance actually ends the pilot program on January 31st. It guarantees a revisit. We are going to learn so much, and its rules may need to be tweaked, days expanded or contracted. We'll see what happens. This is also our promise to stakeholders, that we're going to revisit and see how it went, engage the public and our business community, and report back to you. We may need to tweak the event process from feedback from our legacy events. Another big thing that needs to take place is we need to develop a management plan and assess funding options, as well as make recommendations to the City Council on who manages this district in the long term. All events in Phase 3 will be able to apply for open consumption. We'll implement changes and continue to monitor it. This is about having the tool available now, with the understanding that we may need to be more flexible in the future. This is a current notification system that works for events, and it works great. Yet staff feels with the ordinance, communication with events that may want to coordinate with businesses who would like to serve alcohol to attendees, we need to know a little bit more information. This is an example of the new notification system. Lists will be generated by staff and will include preferred contact points of every business in the impacted area, not just addresses, but business names. That way, we can guarantee they get a call, and they're asked for their input on the closure, but also participation. Again, this is up to the event organizers. They are not be required to have open consumption. Traditional beer gardens can proceed. The choice is theirs. Section D of the ordinance outlines a lot of responsibilities and new laws in the ordinance. No owner shall allow a customer to exit its premise with an open container until that owner has placed a designated identifier on the customer. There's a lot more examples here. Again, there's a difference between a rule and a law, and this provides protections to businesses from a bad behavior, potentially from attendees. It reinforces what the city's view of this district is as well, and provides enforceable points. Additional references were added to this ordinance that reference existing law. Public intoxication, littering, underage drinking, all still illegal. In fact, every ABC ordinance that's on the books now is still currently applicable in this district. You can learn more and give your input online, and it'd be greatly appreciated. We have a link to our city's Outdoor Refreshment Area webpage here, and a link to our Speak Up Fayetteville page. On Speak Up, you'll find two things: not only information on the proposed ordinance and phasing plan, but also a question and answer section. You can use this tool to ask us questions and we'll get back to you so everybody can see the responses. There's also a questionnaire. We want to know what you think about this. And we also want to get your input if you have other creative ideas about how to help businesses in this challenging time. This item will be going to City Council on June 2nd at 5:30. The agenda session next week, May 26th at 4:30. You'll be able to watch that on the city's website or the city's YouTube channel. We'll make sure that the registration link is readily available for the City Council meeting as well. I'd like to conclude by saying thank you. Thank you to the businesses who've been involved with us as well as our stakeholders. The time that they've given in this ordinance operates well, we believe, because of their input. Thank you for your expertise, and thank you for your time.